YouTuber Carl Benjamin, aka Sargon of Akkad, recently shared his thoughts as to why gamers such as HeelvsBabyface, aka Az, are rightfully angry with Starfield and its injection of woke politics here. So, if you don't know what has been going on, there's been a clip of a stream from YouTuber Az of HeelvsBabyface where he ranted about Bethesda Game Studios' inclusion of current day politics into Starfield. The clip was shared by Dan Vask, and in that clip, Az says, Bethesda, there is nothing I love more than to sit down, comfy chair, turn on my PC, fire up a brand new RPG, lose myself, think, OMG, just think of this world, just think of all the planets I can visit, all the immersive things that I can get involved with, all the fights, all the relationships, all the people I meet, all the places I go. I'm so excited to go there. And then he questioned, and do you know, I love nothing more, with all of that laid out in front of me, I love nothing more than to be dragged out at every effing conceivable opportunity so you can effing current day us. Sorry, did you want to get immersed in our world? Well, then guess what? Effing pronouns, effing gender ambiguity, effing current day Californian crap. Because that's all we effing know, because we're boring, we're so effing boring. We can't see past our own effing reflection. That's the level of our narcissism here. Bethesda Western Game Company. He then continued mocking the company. He said, F your immersion, F you having a good time, F you falling into a world and just getting lost. No, 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 current effing day. He then directly addressed the company saying, F off, you're boring, you're effing dull, you have nothing to say, you're a one hive mind waffle. That's all you effing are. And you wonder why people are getting so effing sick and tired. You take everything we love, all our immersions, all our fantasies, all our escapism, and you just can't help shovel your dog crap, effing crap ideology into everything, every single solitary effing thing. Richard Masucci of YouTube channel Review Tech USA reacted to this clip, writing on X, I'm jealous, to be honest. I want to live in HeelvsBabyface's world where life is so easy that pronouns and the character creation screen cause me to rage like this. Obviously, appears that he's definitely trying to mock Az from HeelvsBabyface for the obvious hyperbolic clip that he shared during the live stream. Now, you can criticize Az for his hyperbole, but I think what he's saying does have merit to it, and so does Sargon of Akkad. And Sargon of Akkad went on to explain that HeelvsBabyface's rant was not really about pronouns, but rather an agenda aimed at white men to humiliate them for their skin color. This is what he said. He said, it's not really about the pronouns. Pronouns are just a symptom of the pervasive, corrupting force of social justice continuing to humiliate white men for the crime of being white men. It's everywhere in the real world, and now it's in his escapism, which he paid good money for. Why should he not be angry? The entire philosophy is built on a series of lies and requires us all to commit to its lies or face punishment. We are supposed to clap for men winning women's sports, approve of diversity hires who put people's lives at risk, and believe the media when they tell us white men are the most dangerous group in our countries. The agenda is not incidentally aimed against white men. It is openly prejudicial and explicitly targets and demonizes them every single day from the most powerful pulpits in our societies. An evil will has infused itself across our civilization, and it demands we recognize it as good. Every day in every day we are lied to by people who know we know they are lying, and yet they feign outrage and turn us into pariahs if we speak up and say that they're lying. It's unbearable, and they expect us to pay for the privilege. He then concluded, that's why HeelvsBabyface is angry, and I don't blame him. So I don't think he's alone in this assessment. YouTuber Academic Agent posited a similar thing back in 2020, that actions like the ones Bethesda made for Starfield were part of what former KGB agent Yuri Bezmenov described as a demoralization campaign aimed at Western society back in the 1980s. So if you're not familiar, Bezmenov explained this demoralization campaign employed psychological warfare techniques to, quote, change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite an abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interest of defending themselves, their family, their community, and their country. He elaborated, saying it's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism, Leninism, ideology is pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. So the academic agent would take these comments a step further and note this demoralization and psychological warfare were actually focused on creating an original sin for target nations to make them more pliable. However, not only did they create and push this original sin on the various nations, it has now been unified. These various original sins have been unified in what he describes as the concept of whiteness. So he says if the original sin of the Germans was to be able to be the Holocaust, each other country would find its own original sin. In Britain, it was the empire and colonialism. In America, it was slavery and racism. All of these things have coalesced into one unifying concept called whiteness. And for the re-education program finally to be completed, of course, the symbols of these things must be destroyed, or else the new mindset cannot take root. So if you were to extrapolate that, the argument would be that Starfield is clearly trying to demoralize people in Britain, Germany, the United States, based on these kind of various different things. Various different things. Clearly, the pronoun usage, I think, is another thing there too. But that would be part of like, oh, you're being too white because you think that there's male and female, and that's how God created us. That's a white idea, and that's how they would attack that. And that would be your original sin. That's a white idea. That's a white thing. You see this in headlines. Like they'll even say like white adjacent Asians or the white thinking black man and stuff like that. You see that from like, I don't know, like I want to say like the New Yorker, I feel like, or like the Atlantic. Outlets like that push that stuff. But this is indeed, I think, what is going on, and Starfield is a part of that. Whether or not they realize that they're a part of that, they have kind of bought into this whole ideology that says that being white is basically an original sin, or this idea of whiteness, concept of whiteness is an original sin. It must be eradicated. And I definitely think the whole transgender ideology has been kind of coalesced into that concept as well. So let me know what you think. What do you make of Sargon, of Akkad's assessment? What do you make of this connection that I'm making here between Yuri Bezmenov, Sargon of Akkad, and academic agent? Do you see this pattern? Do you see this happening in our television, movies, and obviously we're talking about video games, our video games? Let me know in the comments below.
Subscribe for more.